Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the Season 2 Monk Guide for you, brought to you by Deadwood Jedi, currently the ranked 1 monk on your server. Is that correct?
That is correct. I am the number 1 ranked monk in my battleground. I don't want to say I'm the best, but I'm the number 1 ranked right now.
You don't want to toot your own horn too much, so I'll toot it for him. He's doing quite good. Good for the boy.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this, Deadwood. Do you have a build available for us today that you would be willing to share with the people?
Yes, absolutely. I know you wanted me to kind of show one of the best monk builds there is, and so I'm going to show you my battleground one right now. It's been working extremely well for me, but I use this actually in a variety of different areas. I use it in the overworld. I can use it in dungeons. It works anywhere, but it's best against bosses in PvP action.
Got it. Okay, so let's see the build. So what are the skills that you're going to do with the build then? Let's go into the skills first, and we're going to do legendary items, then maybe the sets and the gems to wrap it up.
Absolutely. So the skills I'm using, I've got some basic ones that everybody's going to be using if you're a monk. And this first skill is the one I think every monk is going to use all of the time because it's so amazing. It's the Shield of Zen. This is going to protect you and stop you from those loss of controls. You're not going to get knocked back when the boss tries to run through you. You're not going to get stunned when the necromancer tosses up those bone pillars. This is the one that you want to use. It's going to keep you protected. I've also got 7-sided strike. That's probably the strongest damage dealing ability from the monk.
Oh, really?
7 hits. 7 hits doing. For my monk, we're doing almost 8,000 damage per strike, and you're doing them in a split second, right? It does a little bit less after each one, but it's really good. And the way I have mine built, we're doing even more damage on top of that because of the legendaries I have. And then one of the skills, I thought I would never use this skill. When I first started playing, I was like, we're not going to use this at all. It's trash. It's no good. But I have to tell you, this Imprisoned Fist is bonkers good. You knock people skyward, stun them for 2 seconds, and you deal good damage with it. It's a quick skill, so it works really well in PvP. You don't have there's not a lot of load time with some of the other ones like Flying Dragon or whatever. So it's a really strong ability.
It would trigger your Chip of the Stone Flesh, I'm assuming, as well. From this
it does trigger my Chip of the Stone Flesh, which makes for an amazing overworld farming PvE kind of stuff. Actually, it's great for dealing with mobs, like insanely good.
Nice. So it can double dip in the overworld farming, I'm assuming, which is like 90% of what we're doing in this game anyway at this point.
100%. And then of course I have Mystic Strike, so you need one speed ability. Some people like the Flying Dash or Flying Kick, whatever. I like Mystic Strike. Helps me get out of trouble really fast and easy, and that's crucial. And of course, Fist of Thunder is the go-to main skill there that we use. So that's the basic
ability you use is the Fist of the Thunder then, as compared to the other one?
Exactly. The other one, I don't see the advantage of it. It's like this extreme reach thing, so you can hit multiple people, but honestly, the reach is so small, it's just not worth it. In Fist of Thunder, you get a little teleport with it, which is very nice. Definitely the one I would prefer to use if I had to choose, so that's the one I always choose.
Okay, so maybe while you're walking to the Essence Transfer there, you can show us the legendaries through there if you wouldn't mind, and you could tell us what legendary items you're currently using on the monk to, to change up those skills that you're using, as well as maybe if they don't have the exact legendary, maybe one backup one that they could use just instead.
100%. The best thing about the monk, in my opinion, is there are so many different ways to play it. You can use a variety of different legendaries, and I've used pretty much all of them, trying them out, seeing what works. And I have multiple build saves, so I can more be better in certain areas of the game. But absolutely, I'll go through this. So right now I'm using on my helmet, I just got this. I've been looking for this for so long, and I finally got it. The Pensive Crown, and it makes the duration of my Shield of Zen last longer. Being immune to control effects is so vital. And this is huge. 30% is just massive. If you fully rank out something to awaken one of your pieces and get a 10% cooldown, this is a 30% duration increase. It's huge. So absolutely love that. That's my go-to. Of course, if you don't have that, any of the helmets work. There's only one other that works with Shield of Zen, and it removes the status effect, which actually is really nice for PvE. Or PvP, I should say. So that's a pretty good one. The chest piece and Lightman's Blessing, this is, I think, the go-to, right? This is going to increase your movement speed, and you can move unhindered through enemies. So when I'm doing PvE content and there's mobs all around me, I don't have to worry about it. I literally just run right through them.
Well, I had no idea that a monk had that also in their ability. That's great.
Yeah, it's great. Plus, the added speed, of course. Nobody likes running around slow when you're trying to get through these waves. So absolutely a vital chess piece. I think any of them can work here, but this is probably the best out of all of them. I don't know that there's any other ones that I would say are really good. They're going to add some damage or do a little something. Depending on what else you're using, they can be okay. But this one, by far, in my opinion, is the class above.
You can see it
And
being
then, of
good for
course,
farming too, you know, moving quickly or when you're farming. I can see that being fantastic.
I literally use those two pieces, the head and the chest. I use those two pieces for every single build, every single part of this game. Like, I never change them out. They're that good.
Okay.
And then we got the shoulder piece. Now, the shoulder piece, this really depends on what skills you're using, right? Okay. So for me, like I said, I love the Imprisoned Fist, but I love the Imprisoned Fist specifically when I can do the stun ability, and that comes from this shoulder piece here. And that to me is massive, where I can stun everybody and knock them in the air. That's so good to be able to deal that. And like you said, it does activate that Chip of the Stone Flesh, which is a highly underrated gem.
It is, actually.
And so it's very underrated. It's great. So this is the piece that I like to use. There's other ones that can deal more damage, like when you're talking about using your 7-sided strike. I think that's a really good one. I actually like the there's a wave of light one here that does an echo bell that does continuous damage. This is something I use against like challenge rifts. So, you know, keep that in mind for like big bosses. It's a really good one. But 7-sided strike doing more damage. All those are very good. But this is the one that I think is the best one, specifically because I have the Chip of Stone Flesh with it. Now, the pants here are great. I get an extra charge here in my Imprisoned Fist by 1 isolation path, so I can really spam that ability over and over, which is really nice as well. And like I said, being able to stretch out when you're using your skills helps you with that overland farming immensely. So that's something I definitely recommend using. But there are other ones that are good. The one I would really recommend, though, there's only 2 others that really stand out to me in this. One is Exploding Palm. If you use Exploding Palm, this will make it deal more damage, and that can be massive, especially in the earlier parts of the game. But as you start going later and you start facing bosses, Mystic Allies duration. Mystic Allies is one of the best boss skills you can bring, and increasing duration by 30% with Companion's Melody is definitely something I would go with. So you do have a couple options there as far as alternative choices for that. As far as the main hand, Dragon's Indignation is my go-to, right?
Got it.
7-sided strike continually burns enemies, so basically I'm almost doubling my damage from my 7-sided strike. That's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's a really nice ability.
I feel it. On the Necromancer, we have a similar primary where my primary makes the Golem now Molten Golem, where it constantly burns people too. It's my go-to also, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good one. But the great part about the weapons, especially the main weapon, you have a lot of different options depending on what you're trying to do. You can have it be an ice effect that gives chilling, right? Slow everybody down. You can do Spirit's Reach. This is probably the go-to for most people, and I've used this a ton, but this is more of a specific PvP build. That's why I'm using this one. But Spirit's Reach is great because it puts a runic circle down, and anybody that goes in it is going to get hit 7 times. That can actually be really massive against waves. It might be, you know, for a lot of people, that's going to be the one you're going to want to choose. It's really, really nice. Works great against PvE stuff. You can make the Imprisoned Fist do more damage. There's a ton of ability choices here that can work for you.
So the weapons are all good for you as a monk is what you're telling me.
The main weapon's all good for me for the monk. Okay. However, what's interesting is the off weapon, it doesn't even affect this build at all, which is one of the... Yeah, the monk's kind of interesting with their legendaries. They don't all work for all the builds. It's a little bit frustrating sometimes. What I have on right now is Reaching Rebuke, and that makes me, I can use Exploding Palm and jump to another area, which can really increase my mobility. And, you know, obviously Exploding Palm is a massive damage boost when you're dealing with mobs. So when I overworld farm, sometimes I'll swap this skill in instead of like Shield of Zen or something, like if I want to kind of mix up how I'm doing stuff. But there's nothing here that's really going to make any difference to this particular build that we're showing today.
Similar problem as the Necromancer. The shields are only, like, they only affect, like, the Golem and, like, a couple skills. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm not using that, then, you know, the shield is almost completely worthless. Well, I'm interested to see if you have a similar problem with the set items then as we get into the set items here, because I have a similar issue with the Necromancer where there's only some sets that are, you know, neck and shoulder above the other ones, basically. Are you having the same issue with the Monk?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple. Monk's a little bit more interesting, I think. I think there's definitely... what I'm finding with the sets is it really depends on you know, what part of the game you're facing, right? Like there's some sets that are just amazing for PvP, and I'm of course talking about what's it called, Mountebank, right? The Mountebank set is amazing for PvP. You're getting a freaking shield like every 10 or 15 seconds or whatever it is. Like it's a really strong skill, and I think in PvP it might be one of the strongest, and it only gets better as you upgrade it. But, you know, Monk's got some cool stuff to his kit, like he can move really fast. And when he moves really fast, you can do some more damage. And so I think maybe the most at least right now, the most beneficial, since we haven't unlocked all the slots yet, the most beneficial might be actually Vithus Urges, and especially for Monk, and especially if you can get that the Bottled Hope gem. That's going to make it even better. But basically, increase the duration of all beneficials on you or your party members by 30%. Now, if we think about back to that Shield of Zen, right, where it makes you immune to any effects or whatever,
I can see where we're going with this.
Buddy, let me tell you, I got that helmet giving me 30%. I got Vithus giving me 30%. Basically, I have that up for like 9 seconds of a 12-second cooldown.
Yeah.
So, I'm keeping that shield up almost 75% of the time. That means I'm moving faster, means I'm not getting knocked back, and I'm dealing more damage. And if I can get this to a 4 set, all of a sudden my attack speed goes up as well. And so, it's just going to benefit all the way around. So it's a really, really nice set. I think there's a lot of positives to that. Those are the main sets that I use. I do sometimes fiddle around with Isatar, especially when I'm open world farming.
I've heard that one can be quite good for melees when you're open world farming, for sure.
Absolutely. As soon as you kill somebody, you get extra movement speed, and especially when you combine it with Vithus and you can do more damage with more movement speed, it can be really, really nice. So that's definitely another option for you. I don't think any of the sets are terrible. There's a couple that aren't like particularly good, but those seem to me to be the 3 that are really nice. Obviously, what's a windswept one? I think you need really a 6-piece set to make it valuable, but
a lot of them kind of I'm sure be more relevant later on in the game once we get higher Paragon and can start actually building around the complete set pieces, because it seems like the 6-piece set's really when the meta is probably going to change a little bit with these sets, because some of the 6 pieces are absolutely nutty. What I'm curious about too is the meta for the gems on the Monk, because obviously I don't know much about Monk. I haven't got a chance to play it, so I would assume Chip of the Stone Flesh, we talked about that. Bottled Hope would be my other impression, probably Blood-Soaked Jade for the movement speed. From there, what's your take? Where you go from there?
I mean, it really depends on what you want. I think there's a lot of flexibility as far as what you want to do when it comes to this. For me, you're right. Yes, I love the Chip of the Stoneflesh. I think it's one of the best gems, honestly, for my Monk build, because we're stunning people. We're inflicting that loss of control. Now, not only am I, giving a nice little explosion later on, but also all my damage is going up by 12% at this point, right? That's a massive boost to your damage. Now, of course, this is, maybe less helpful against PvP, where people, have various different levels of skills. But in PvE, I can go ahead, I can pop my Imprisoned Fist and walk away from a mob. And I know they're going to explode in like 2 seconds and just be dead after that. That's huge, I think, to be able to just pop it and walk away, because you're doing damage for that Imprisoned Fist. That is activating and adding to that damage that the chip's going to blow up later on. And that to me is pretty massive. So I really like that. It helps make that farming aspect a lot easier to do. Bottled Hope, obviously, if you're running that Shield of Zen, even if you run Inner Sanctuary, which is another great skill and option, this one's awesome because you're buffing yourself and you're doing that pretty frequently, and that's going to give you more movement speed, more damage, and because you're keeping that up full time, there's no negatives to it. Plus, it also reduces the cooldowns of all your skills.
Was that a R2D2 sound effect for a text of a phone there? I gotta cut. That's actually pretty great. I like that.
That was exactly what that was. Yeah, I got my R2D2.
That's good.
I'm the Deadwood Jedi. How can I not have R2D2 on there, right?
Fair enough. I realize we're the 2 Star Wars guards, Darth Microtransaction, Deadwood Jedi. So we have the good and the light side here.
We're literally the balance of the Force right now.
And the Monk's the Yin Yang character, right? So isn't it quite literally perfect?
Well, and the Necromancer, alive but bringing people back from the dead. I feel like there's a lot of synergy going on right
yin yang happening right here for sure. Well, okay, so let me ask you this. So we got the sets, the gems, the skills, legend. We got basically everything. I think really what I would like to ask you, is there any one particular thing you feel like Monk players need to know? It doesn't have to just be one, but is there like a thing that you feel like is misunderstood about Monk that maybe doesn't work the way the texts say it does? Is there a bug? Is there something that you really want other Monk players to know?
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing as a Monk that I think people I don't even do this well. It's a hard question. Pertains particularly to PvP.
Okay.
Would be your main goal is to live. Your job is to survive. And that's hard because you go, I'm a Monk, I'm a melee guy, I'm a damage dealer, I'm going to get in there. Like, not necessarily, right? You go in, you get out. Like, do your work and then get out. use the mobility to survive, right? Though I suppose if there's anything else I would add, it's just that the monk, I think, is probably the most versatile character in this game. You actually have some ranged attacks. You can definitely get up close and personal. Like I said, you have great movement abilities. And so, if you're struggling with a monk, experiment with those other skills, because let me tell you, I am one of the few people I run around the world with who has a full 5, builds in my whatever you call it, the changing room area of this game,
Armory.
right? Yeah, the armory, because I use all of those because I have different builds for different areas of the game, because there are so many skills. They're all very useful, but you have to combine them right and work with them in the right team. So like, you can have a support monk, you can have a ranged monk, which is really effective. You can have a melee, a damage dealing monk, which is kind of what I'm doing right now, just because of where I'm at in our clan. But I don't even think that's necessarily the best way to use them. You can be a kind of a jungler where you run around and just pick off the guys on the edges of the enemy team, or you can be the person that holds the line and really jumps in first and tries to keep everybody to keep the enemy at bay. There's a lot of different ways to play it, and that's the most fun for me. It's extremely,
it's like a skirmisher. You go in, yes. You do a little harassment, you leave, you be the annoying little guy on the outskirts. That's the kind of almost like a rogue is almost what I'm hearing, yes. To be honest.
That's exactly how I would approach it, and I think that's how the monk is going to be best at. But like I'm saying, that doesn't have to be the only way you build it, right? You can definitely do it in a lot of different ways and be very effective doing that. I actually, I have my meme build too. I did a full on, what's it called? I call it my Naruto build. It's my Shadow Clone Jutsu build, where go. I got my Echo Shade here, and I've also got that Mystic Ally. So I run around with like 4 copies of me chasing me around on the battlefield. It's a blast to do. There's so many different ways to play this kind of character, and I think that's the most fun. It doesn't get stale. A lot of them can get a little bit stale. This one doesn't. And so I really enjoy it because of that.
It's a fun class then. Well, Deadwood, I appreciate all your time and for helping the people out. And for anyone that's curious about more monk stuff and Diablo Immortal stuff from you, where can they find you?
You can find me, Deadwood Jedi. I have a Diablo Immortal channel, Deadwood Jedi Diablo, I believe it is. So you can come check me out there. I have all of 2 videos up, but I will get some more going out, especially focus on the monk here.
All right, man. Well, much appreciated. Go check them out. Love y'all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Darth.